Welcome to our LA ACM SIGGRAPH April 14th presentation, The State of the Metaverse 2026, with our very own chapter Vice Chair Larry Rosenthal, partner at Cube XR LLC, Deirdre Lyons, founder of Ferryman Collective, and Athena Demos, CEO of Big Rock Creative. My name is Evelyn Harper, the chair of LAACM SIGGRAPH, which stands for Los Angeles Association for Computing Machinery, Special Interest Group on Computer Graphics Professional Chapter. It is a huge pleasure to introduce LA SIGGRAPH's producer, moderator, and immersive experience veteran, Ed Lantz, founder and CEO of Vortex Immersion. Ed, welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Adeline. Hi, everyone. Good to be here tonight. We really have a great panel for you. This is going to be a lot of fun. I guess a lot of you have dabbled in the metaverse over the years and have noticed that this is an ever-evolving space. We have a lot of platforms that have come and gone. And, when people build metaverse communities, they put a lot of work into building these communities and to build world building within these platforms. And when these systems shut down, change, upgrade, pivot, whatever, it can cause a lot of issues for people who are working hard to build community and create awesome experiences. So, without further ado, let's just jump right in here. Our first speaker is Larry Rosenthal. Larry's truly a pioneer in digital media and immersive tech. He's worked in the metaverse, Web 3, XR, VR, you name it. He's experienced design, transmedia, virtual world creation. And he's really done a lot of work in the space as well. He speaks at a lot of different conferences on Metaverse and XR and whatnot. And he is our vice chair of ACM SIGGRAPH, LA ACM SIGGRAPH. So, Larry, why don't you come on screen and tell us a bit about what you've been up to over the years and your take on things.
Hi, Ed. Hi, Abilene. Hi, everyone. My broadcasting should be good.
You're all good.
Okay, and I'm going to share screen. Okay, great. So yeah, as Ed mentioned, I've been 35 years approximately, even more than that, in the world of producing virtual communities and things like of that nature. I started as an industrial designer, and so I was designing real places in the real world, exhibits and things. So all this, when the Macintosh showed up around the late 80s, was all second nature to me. So I've got 35 years, about 35 slides, and I'm going to take 15 minutes. So we're going to go through 2 years and hopefully 30 seconds per slide. So for all you listening, I'm going to talk my New York fast way, and we're going to pile through this, and then we'll have time for Q&A, hopefully all at the end. But I'm going to talk about the whole story of the way that Ed just laid it out. So Starbase C3 and beyond. So, I'm not getting good. Oh, okay. So in the early 90s, before there was real-time 3D, there really was online a 2D graphical online community design. A couple of screenshots above are actually work I did for Delphi, Fox Broadcasting, when these are all 640-480 screenshots from projects that don't exist anymore except for some screenshots. So the early 90s, I was designing for them what I called The Simpsons meets Myst. Myst was the Myst and adventure game, 7th level. That was the goal everybody had. And I created an entire interface for social online gathering. We could see there were tools. We would compete and communicate and message card, have an ID card, and there were online help characters. There was a robot and a boy who was the gamer whiz. And you would go from these 3D spaces to spaces where then you would launch games. Kesmai which was one of the first game companies to have multi-user games, usually tank battles and flight type battle games, all in 3D. So this was a shell that we were trying to put together to compete with AOL during the CD-ROM age to do communities. Underneath are images all from a project that I worked with DC Comics for about a year or so, trying to create. We called it. I've used the term media space for a long time, but it was a cybersphere, an entire universe. Hopefully, that would be a hub for all DC content that could be put online, since AOL and Time Warner had bought them at that point. But again, you go with the flavor of what was being sold, and people think they want to be doing it at the time. So the early 90s came, and as I said, I was doing a lot of real store design, working with marketing companies in Saatchi and Saatchi. And I was known for doing store design, sci-fi, and 3D. That was what Cube 3 at that point, myself and Alex Shamps, my partner, were. So actually, when Paramount came looking to make Snow Crash real, they found me in New York, and these show 2D renderings for production design of the rat thing, and then the bar and the hero avatars fighting. And then the image you'll notice on the right-hand side, which is kind of a low polygon scene of the Black Sun bar. We'll get back to that, because that was shown to Neil as being. I did that in a product called Vertus VR, which was one of the first real-time 3D tools. Again, it was created out of the early 90s. So this is the way we're going to visualize it. I wanted to build a virtual world, and we could have done it. It just was, what was, going to happen and what not going to happen back in those times. So the early 90s, there was no World Wide Web yet. There was just AOL, CompuServe, BBS, and there were fandoms. So communities were moving online, fan communities. And of course, where no images have gone before. So the granddaddy of all fandoms, of course, is Star Trek. So the story goes pretty simply that when I first learned the Macintosh, one of the first things I did in Swivel 3D, one of the earliest 3D programs, was throw together some shapes and build my enterprise model. Typical story, lots of people have done it. But with my background as an industrial designer and a car designer, I also was into doing concept designs. So in 94, and then a little later in 96, when Voyager was going to come out, and then the next Star Trek movie with the Enterprise E, the redesign, no one knew what the ships looked like, but I used my intuition, knowing the design language of Star Trek, and put up these images. The first one is the Voyager image. And, I put them up on AOL and CompuServe in the forums, and they had record downloads back then because the fandom was there. And I was reaching them with something they wanted, which was the gossip. And what social media today is, trying to figure out what the next Superman movie or Godzilla movie is. This was the genesis of it. And it became apparent to me what happened is that I got emails from thousands of people saying, can you make spaceships for me? We have a local club. We meet, once a week. We play Star Trek games. There were role play games back then. And we want our own ship. We want to name it the USS, Belmore for the town that we play in, whatever. But I was a professional designer with Cube, and I had real clients, and I couldn't design ships for everyone. But I did come up with the idea of, and this is, again, way before Lego and Lego Star Wars, what if I built the Starship construction tool? What fandom wants, fandom's going to get, kind of. So I put together 150 3D pieces modeled in things like Max and Lightwave that you can mix and match to build your own spaceships. And at this point, CD-ROM was the way it was going to happen, because the web hadn't really happened yet. It's early 94. So I started putting it together for a CD-ROM project. And by the time I got ready for it, VRML existed, 1995, real-time 3D in the web and the browser. So we ended up building some malls, Shop 3, which is really the first living prototype of a mall with an interface that could then work kind of to an Amazon.com, where you could buy something, see it with the pictures, and then navigate through a 3D space to go from floor to floor, children's floor, women's floor. And then that bar I mentioned ago, the Black Sun bar from Snow Crash, with multi-user using a tool from a German company called Black Sun, named after the bar, we actually brought it to life. It's actually, up until a year ago, was still alive again, as we'll get to the end of the story, where you could then move your avatars around and be inside the original production design for the Black Sun. This brought community into 3D. So 1996, VRML exists, multi-user exists. We started building communities. One of the things I did is I created the New York VRML SIG, which was really the first, in New York, it was the first user group to deal with real-time 3D. The Alt Dot Coffee was a cyber cafe that 3 friends of mine owned. You can see a picture of them in the subway car. We built a multi-user site for them that had 3D renderings that were backgrounds that we used for a palette site and for navigational interface. And then you can see in the middle, there's real-time 3D using Vertis, so that we could actually have a real-time multi-user avatar-driven environment. And we actually showed some of the first things there. We did a landmark project with the members of New York VRML SIG. You could see Grand Central Station, Grace Papaya. I think is that Cooper Union? I'm not sure. But early people pioneering building environments in 3D and linking them all together as part of our group, just like SIGGRAPH is a group today. That led to the Starship construction site. So I went from CD-ROM because I realized I can now do this all directly online, and I could build a much bigger transmedia IP. The other thing is I've been through the ringer with Paramount a number of times, Snow Crash and with Star Trek, and I got tired of trying to get them to do what I wanted to do with their IPs. So I created my own universe, Starbase C3. That shows an article from an early Mac World or a Mac User magazine, Bring and Design Play at Starbase. So this was the granddaddy of all buy avatars. I was selling with Cybercoin. The first, you could buy the $5 models. You can see the battle fleets for $29. Each of those spaceships is made up of about 10 parts, all take apart, put it all together again. So you're looking at there the first time that we actually did a test of putting it in 3D with multi-user on the ships. It was actually spaceship scale, not human scale, which is an interesting thing. There were no human avatars. Your avatar was a 300-foot spaceship, and kind of like EVE Online would do. And we had 2 members of the group, the McDonald brothers, who created the first multi-user stuff outside of Black Sun, and we tested it that night at the SIG. Eventually, Starbase kept growing. A story developed, galleries developed, Designership 2D using Flash, and every other. The whole idea was, because back then I had to use I couldn't just use Horizons or Second Life. I had to use Flash, VRML, Black Sun, Cybercoin, PayPal, 2 different browsers. SGI needed a deal for Cosmo Worlds. So I had to make a ton of deals to try to bring together a transmedia universe. So this is a screenshot here of what the website looked like at a given time, probably about 97. There was with AOL, there was an entire AOL interface that was done for Rain Man, which is the You've Got Mail interface, and a 60-page Flash site, which had all buttons and interactivity, kind of similar to what it looks like there, but it was actually even slicker. So AOL gave me a deal, brought it out to LA. So it was the only original content deal at the asylum at that point. They also were dealing with video and other things, streaming video. And most of the Flash studios all came out of that. There were projects being done. I was the only one there with a PC in-house, as I was art directing for them as well. And there's an image there of from Lost in Space movie and some other horror things that were done back at the time. So we were trying to integrate 3D into what was, hot at the moment, which was Flash and then Flash cartoons. You can see that in 98, Starbase actually launched, but AOL went nowhere with it. They didn't know how to market it. No one understood, nobody really understood what an MMO was at that point. I literally took it down across the street to Sony and had a meeting with them. This is before they ever got EverQuest or bought into any of or the games they had bought. And they asked me, well, who's attached to it? And I go, what do you mean? And they go, well, do you have Harrison Ford or something? Because they thought it was a science fiction movie. And I go, no, no, no. I told them, and they looked at me like I was an alien. You're the star of the movie. You are the viewer user. You're the star of this world that you're going to go into. They looked at me. It was like, it wasn't going to happen. So that was that in LA. Early, but there are others doing things. There was Cybertown and Avatars '98 was again kind of a gathering that Bruce Dahmer put together using a couple of these early engines and the few people who were developing in it. And there's a screenshot there showing our country. And I was always involved in it with using the Black Sun technology while he was using the Active Worlds technology. So I ended up going north because it's 1999. Everybody's doing Flash on the web, but the only real-time 3D is in gaming. So I moved north to San Francisco, and I ended up doing a Dungeons and Dragons game and designing it. So these are some images here of the production process of Pool of Radiance 2, Myth Draenor. So, and some of the real-time 3D was used in the production, but the game itself, the characters were real-time 3D, and the environment actually it wasn't like StarCraft. The actual environment parts were in 3D, and they were rendered over a 2D background. So it gave us kind of a large, instead of tiles, it was a large repeating groundwork that could then be turned into lots and lots of dungeons for a crawl. And so it was interesting at the time. But again, there was no real-time 3D in '99, really. Again, companies like NVIDIA were just putting out their game cards. 3D Labs was becoming NVIDIA, things of that nature. So 2001 hits. I've left the game. The game has been shipped already. I'm gone from that company. We enter the wild west of Web 3D tools. There are really no standards at this point, other than X3D, which is coming up as the replacement of VRML. There's Viewpoint, there's Cult, there's Shockwave, there's Wild Tangent, there's View Tools, there's Axel 3D. Unity first existed and on the Macintosh as a Web 3D tool. Brilliant Digital, making cartoons. They were all used separately to build this world and to keep the audience together. I actually created the SF Web 3D group in 2002 to address the chaos and to keep, people, again, to keep promoting this medium that I still believed, is and still do, where we're going to go eventually on web. Put together the first 3D ebooks. One of them was a kind of a manual where the ships were all in 3D in the PDF. So if you had a computer, in print it was just 2D, but on a computer you see all the spaceships in 3D. There was a children's book with the character Hoppy Wakes Up. So that was all 3D illustrations. And of course, using Wild Tangent, I built Strike Fighter, which was, in the browser 3D game, very simple shooting type game, using the ships and using the assets that kept moving forward. 2001 through 4, I'm still using to experiment in many companies. Everybody wants to be one solution for the web, but it never happens. Story of which everybody here will be familiar with now. Mojo Worlds could build planets. X3D and Black Sun could build multi-user spaces. Brilliant Digital made animated movies. Shockwave made the games, right? So I put up a mini site called Starship 33C3 where I was introducing a subset story with different characters from this entire sci-fi universe. The whole idea was Star Wars was made to be a movie. Star Trek was made to be a TV series, episodic. Starbase C3 was made to be an online universe that people would contribute to, and that they would buy and sell the models. And actually, there was a license that I created, the C3 license, which gave them property rights, IP rights, a sharing IP with Cube, because again, this is the idea of just stealing Star Trek and making your own stuff online or Star Wars. That's all people, studios could have dealt with then. This was really the first attempt to look to that model. And it goes back to 95. So there was an animated show, games, comic books. Okay. So in 2005, X3D had a lot of promise. I started using it for a lot of client demos to show off mainly what the metaverse might be. but they're all single user worlds. So there's a lot of store designs and projects that I did. Where you would have you'd have your, your place to live, and you'd go shopping and that kind of stuff. Uh, again, there were some surprises. Most people don't remember. I think Adobe Atmosphere came out with a thing that had multi-user capabilities. Uh, it didn't last a year. They closed it the same year that kind of Second Life caught traction in 2006. But Bruce Dahmer was kind of their evangelist, the same way I had been for Brilliant Digital and for Axel 3D. And he asked me, could I make something? So using the assets I had, the guy in the red, those pants are my pants that are 25 years old. So every time I have an avatar, I throw the same JPEG outfit on me, which is a Starbase outfit, and I'm wearing 25-year-old virtual pants. Then I created a game, kind of a dark ride called the Ghost Ship, and it got third prize out of the 3 prizes they gave out, and but it was and it was great the way it rendered. It rendered better than a lot of things today. So in 2006, finally, Second Life comes out, and they listened to things they heard at the SF Web 3D group, and eventually they added third-party IP rights and commerce. And it grew from 2004, when it was hardly going to happen, to a large enough audience that I could invade. In my opinion, now it made sense for me to invade with Starbase. So I created the first 3 ships of the invasion fleet. They were designed to be human-sized fighters for human avatars, which of course was the mainstay of Second Life. These are the first ships that, when I launched the 3 of them, you can see them there. They had a skeet game built into them, and you can get a 3D model if you wanted to buy one. I had a deal with one of the earlier 3D printing models companies. So this is, again, transmedia approach to do Web 3D. So after 10 years, I finally had a single platform to tell stories in, and I could stop prototyping what I always wanted to do. So in 2006 through 8, Starbase would continue to grow with memberships, new locations, new stories, space stations, more of the online inline universe with users, and user stories would grow. There was a Skybar Lounge, which became a focal point of many of the fan builds, fan environments. Everything I do is modular in approach. One of them I turned into a Star Trek tribute lounge just by redecorating it to deal with, tribute to the artisans who created the Star Trek show. The Skybar Lounge really became a focal point. We did trivia contests weekly. We gave out prizes. We would give out, and a lot of the prizes I made were replicas of old 1960s, Space 1999 type ships and weird stuff like that. It's been reported to me that Ernest Cline would hang out in the back of the bar. He ended up writing Ready Player One. So in a sense, the Ike character, or the Ike character, was me. Uh, but we were building, a community. So the space pirates would all show up here and play trivia once a week. Continue to grow, continue to add more vessels, more sails, more interiors, bigger ships, because people like to live in ships. So what would happen is the different communities would buy ships and then decorate them. They would put in sex balls, if people know what that means from Second Life. And I would receive very weird videos sent to me from people using my spaceships for all sorts of things. I forgot to put the slide in here, but there's actually a Brazilian music video that uses one of the small fighters in a segment that no one asked me about. They just did it. I just found out because someone sent me the video from YouTube. We started to build larger space stations. As you see, the space stations all became local outposts at different locations on that large Second Life grid. So people would game. They'd fly from location to location, bring their ships, and the IP would become more aware. And that was really the goal. Actually, I created an alien flying circus, so we got to a darker side, more dangerous, where there was a fight ring, a fight club, and the go-go dancing in a bar. So that things that were more R-rated could start coming in, owned by a in-universe mobster I called the Monty of Ithon, right? And his alien flying circus. So it was growing as its own world. And one of the things we did is we took advantage of the whole platform. You can see in the middle picture, myself in red, followed by a group of members in yellow. This is us at a flight show, air shows. We would go to air shows and fly our ships around and sell the ships. Upper left-hand corner shows, the registration booth. Come join the league. What is Starbase? Learn what it is. Join it there. And we did tons of these. You can see June 23rd, 2007, 3 new ships. Come and see them. And this was a way where, just quickly, I will tell the story quickly that, so I was Gene Roddenberry, but my avatar, people would think of me kind of as William Riker. So the problem is that people were sometimes relating to me in 2 different ways. And that did become an issue. And I think it's an issue that everybody running a community who's doing role playing and is kind of hands-on will find. And there were difficulties. I won't get into all the different stories, but there are times I had to lay down the law. No, I'm also the owner of the IP. I'm not just here flying a spaceship with you guys or hanging out in the bar. There were offshoots that had happened. A cube pod that was created for an architect's island. We created from that Podball. It was a vehicle that could go on land, sea, and water. And it ended up like kind of a 3-dimensional soccer game that we created. And you could, again, buy the stadium and set it up and run your own games and make your own profits from that. And this is before Rocket League, by the way. And this game actually was going to come out and become its own thing at the end line of the story, which was essentially that there were spin-offs and where they went, which was I was trying to prototype the metaverse. We also added the C3 Sky Cinema, which did partnerships like the 48-hour film festival. My friend Mr. Lobo, Cinema Insomnia, which was a TV show. It's in its 25th year now. I made his clubhouse in the projection room, so his fans would come, and we'd all watch late night movies. And this became a destination guide and pick in Second Life. The Starbirds then showed up as the official bouncers at the Sky Bar. Basically, I cast actresses as the 5 Starbirds, which were essentially the characters with their own backgrounds, and they functioned as kind of James Bond spy police characters who would hang out at the Sky Bar, keep the story going, and of course then become part of their own IP. So in 2009, the goal was prototyping, as I said, the IP, and building that online world that could be expressed in film and TV and games. In 2008, I had found investors. Okay, I was raising $5 million to come down to LA and set it up. Then, of course, the economy crashed. The investors were broke. SO was getting greedy. So I sold my SL items and, like Burn Notice, ended up in Florida. 2009, OpenSims, which came out of Second Life, which gave some control, returned Web 3D. We took Starbase. I set up another island. I set up the Sky Cinema. We showed the movies again. There were some good people serving that stuff, but basically the communities didn't follow. They were too difficult to host and use and to bring in even the people who had used it in Second Life. So your community lost because the tech changed and there was nothing you could do about it at that point. But I was able to prototype lots of things. The Mediaverse came back. I pivoted it into a fandom kind of museum project, which I'm still trying to get going in the world. As I said, Podball was part of, and Starbirds were part of a content play. But almost everything imported from OpenSims from SL, so it was very easy to do. The only open standard, in a sense, was SL to open to Sims. 2009 to 14, Web 3D began to catch on again, and I worked with a company called 3D Explorer, and again, Cinema Insomnia built an even web browser base, very much like what we're seeing now, and Altadin, and we did a Cloud Slam, we did a virtual conference, so I was building systems and modules for them, their home world and the Cloud Slam. We were back in the web and using Java, and things were getting interesting, but the world was still going to find something else to do by 2014. These were campus pods and office pods. Universities started buying them. Again, the import from the world of Second Life was there. Luckily, I had built most of this stuff in Second Life, or I could bring it in as FBX or Collada. Again, open standard 3D formats. 2015 to 19, crickets until COVID. Okay, I took Starbase down in 2015. I hosted it for 25 years. I kept a single sim up in Second Life, a little land with some vending machines. I went from making a few $1,000s a month to making a few dollars as I do today. The world, there was no 3D at that point. There was, XR meant 360 video and Unity games and a deal with Meta. Not for a good sell for social XR unless you're going to raise a lot of money and try to build your own thing. Crickets until COVID. When COVID hit, people got interested in social XR again, the same way we got interested in Zoom. SIGGRAPH called out. There was a lot of ability. I was using Sansar, AltSpace, all these other programs, Microsoft with AltSpace. These are images from Sansar and AltSpace. Well, again, the lounge and movie theater, they're all set up again. But I warned they weren't going to last because it didn't make any sense from the business plans of the people who were owning these products. So luckily by 2020, Hubs Mozilla came as a social XR platform that was in the web. So again, spaceship worlds, the spaceships came in, the lounge went up. You could see Mr. Lobo hosting his movies again, all because it was now web-based and just browser-based, click and you're in. We set up the Mediaverse. We did talk shows about fandom. First one was called Fandom in the Metaverse. Second one, then we did a second show. Brett Leonard and I were doing the Virtual Word, which was kind of a Siskel and Ebert review show of the internet of Web 3D and the NFT mania. The Skybar Lounge, the Star Trek Lounge tribute, got used at the first VR AR Global Summit as a social space. But of course, Hubs, it made things easy to prototype. The new Mediaverse was ArcadiaVirtual.com, which was 8 different campuses. We were trying to do a virtual education play, federated play. And again, we could do it all and show it in the web very easily. But a lot of people wanted higher end rendering, Unreal rendering. They have no history. They didn't know. So, SIGGRAPH. Here's the LA SIGGRAPH using the same models. We hacked it part together and put together the LA SIGGRAPH virtual campus, which used in Hubs for a year or two for the meet and greets after these Zoom calls, which we could go into, but we can't go into this one in Hubs because Hubs ain't around anymore. Okay, so 2024-26, Hubs is gone. RP1 has a social XR platform. We've given them some shows on us. So right now it has web browser access. This is the world that we could go into at the end of this meeting if we wanted to. And it was reopened there, and it's still a work in progress. And hopefully it's going to be at a point very soon where any member of the LA SIGGRAPH group can go in and start customizing their own exhibits. 2026 and beyond, well, Meta sunsets horizons. Rec Room gambled and lost about generated AI. Social XR communities are left adrift again. What do? Do they build their own engines? Do they join another closed platform? Do they look for Web 3D standards-based solution? All I could say is, remember, these are your communities, your IP that you're building. It's not theirs. So be cautious, but be adventurous. So, over the next horizon. See you, Space Cowboys. Night.
Wow, thanks, Larry. Amazing history there. And lots of innovation, building communities, monetizing. Have there been points where you could actually make a living off of your communities and
I made livings through the deals that were around it. Like I said, Second Life, inside of Second Life, one of the issues was Second Life, they listened only halfway in 2004 to what the SF Web 3D people were saying. They didn't give us a dollar for dollar economy. They gave us a 30 cent to the dollar economy. So I couldn't sell spaceships for $50. I had to sell them for $5 or $4 or 30 cents. And then you were competing with others who would do the same. So, there was an arbitrage business, which we can talk about the politics of it and who got what and those kind of things. There was a sex business, and we can talk about how you become a millionaire doing that. But I was PG-13 trying to put another sci-fi franchise into the world. So as I said, I probably, I'll be honest, I probably capped out at around $5,000 a month with Starbase inside of Second Life. But then I found, and again, because I'm a creative guy, not a programmer, I found a British media company that was willing to take, 10% out of a Dubai real estate deal and bury it in a Los Angeles Pixar for 3D studio play. And so that was money that was raised a year of my life. And of course, then the real estate economy in the world exploded, and I ended up not getting that deal.
I know. Well, thanks, Larry. We'll get to talk
We
further
can talk more at the
in the
end.
Q&A.
Sure. I'm going to let everybody go.
Our next speaker, Deirdre Lyons. Deirdre's a producer, director, performer, and co-founder of Ferryman Collective, which is an award-winning virtual reality theater group, which I ran into, gosh, some years back, actually, because they submitted their experience as a Producers Guild for the Producers Guild Innovation Award. And I was like, who are these people? What are they doing with live performers? This is very cool stuff. They have won numerous awards, and including Innovation Award from XR Women. And anyway, let's bring on Deirdre and let us know what you've been up to in the metaverse.
Hello, hi everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction, and it's just an absolute joy being here on the LA SIGGRAPH Zoom here. I've had the honor of being a part of SIGGRAPH as presenter and in the immersive pavilion. So I'm super happy to be here amongst what I consider my tribe and my friends. So thank you so much. And yeah, we were nominated for the PGA Innovation Award for 2 of our shows. And we are super grateful and honored for that. And actually, we're able to join the PGA and the Television Academy because of all this crazy stuff that we are doing, which is, this crazy live VR theater thing. And for us, the most important question is actually not only where people gather in virtual space, but why? Why do they return? How do they connect? And what makes a virtual experience meaningful enough for people to create a community? So when people talk about the metaverse, the conversation is generally centers around platforms and the tools and the technology. And for us as theater makers, we come at it from a slightly different angle. It's something a little bit more old-fashioned, as a space for live human experience, a space for presence, a space for story, a space for this community that we are building. We do live theater in virtual reality. We've done 6 shows. 4 of them are our major shows. And our work has been presented around the world at some of the major festivals in the world. Like, we've been to Venice 3 times. We've been to South by Southwest 3 times. We've been to Tribeca. We've been to SIGGRAPH a few times. And we also have been lucky enough to have our shows translated into other languages. So we feel very grateful that people really enjoy our experiences enough to sometimes, bring us places and give us awards and things like that, which has been crazy and amazing. And sometimes they write about us in books and stuff. It's been nuts. We built a body of work that explores what happens when theater, world building, and social presence come together within this virtual space. And the best way to explain this all to you is basically just to show it. So I will share a video for you all to see a little bit about what we do.
Welcome to Uncanny Alley, a new day. Step inside a living dystopian world where you are no longer a spectator, you are part of the story. Arrested for protesting an authoritarian regime, you are freed by hacker Ghost and her sentient service bot Adam. Together they guide you through a decaying city, meeting rebels, dreamers, and survivors. 2 live actors portray 15 characters, guiding audiences through the experience like a cyberpunk Alice in Wonderland in this seemingly endless world.
You know what I'm saying? I know I am so cute. You're looking. I see you looking. Oh, I know I am so cute. I want to be dancer in club, but blockchain is like, no, you're too small. And I'm like, no, but I have big personality. You know what I'm saying?
Your choices shape what unfolds. Do you follow Ghost into danger? Do you comfort Adam as he questions what it means to be alive? In the park, he recites poetry that sparks unexpected conversations about humanity, technology, and belonging.
What is it like to be alive?
It is a constant chaos of conflicting feelings that interfere with everything you're trying to do in any logical way, so it's impossible sometimes to even move forward, and it's amazing that we get out of bed in the morning.
What is love?
Oh, I think it's a chemical infusion into your entire daily experience that lifts you higher than you even could imagine you could exist.
The show is modular and flexible, fully remote in VR, staged for audiences together on site, projected onto a cinema screen, or streamed to phones, tablets, and laptops. Wherever you are, you can experience Uncanny Alley, a new day. At the climax, the choice is yours. Do you take a leap of faith with Ghost and build a new home? Or stay with Adam and fight for the one you know and love? The path you choose defines your ending, and no 2 performances are the same. This is live theater without a stage, gaming without winners and losers, cinema you step inside. Uncanny Alley, A New Day is an experience you can only truly understand by living it. The question is, what choice will you make?
So that is Uncanny Alley, A New Day, our newest show. And, you know, the first thing we have to do with our audiences, we need to bring them into the world. So the story kind of begins even before the story starts. You know, we have to onboard them into the space. It's the hardest thing we do. Audiences are stressed. You know, this is tech. We try to put them in ease and then also get them ready to see a show. And then once inside, they're guided by these actors who are in character from the very beginning. They're in world. They're taught how to use their menus, how to interact with the world, with the objects. Then they're brought into this world through this narrative that we've created. And then they begin in the old arcade. They become prisoners in a jail cell. The show unfolds around them as the actors lead them through this crazy world. And they're not passive spectators. They're actually participants. So they're spoken to directly. They're asked for help. They're asked to choose. And ultimately, they're brought to the final split-ending decision. Are they going to stay in their home and fight for their home, or are they going to leave and start a new home? So community is not just for us a byproduct of this digital location. It is built through this shared action, this shared emotion, and the shared stakes of the show. We lean into the new tech. It's hard. Onboarding, we see it as hospitality. It's the first layer of world building, and we try to hold that space with a lot of patience. Some get it right away, and some, they take a little bit longer. We have to find a way to accomplish, each level of person's abilities and comforts within the space. And then the liveness changes how people behave. It's the liveness that's important. Audiences know that these are live performers and other audience members are also present with them. So the experience, it has weight. People listen differently than they would to NPCs. They respond differently and they take each other more seriously. And then our story is our social infrastructure. It gives people this shared experience, thus creating community quite quickly. So platforms, they evolved, features that disappear, communities, they migrate, tools, they come and go. But what endures is the practices that people are building together. For us, future proofing is not about a single platform, although we've only used VR chat. It's our favorite platform. But it's really about building the experience within the platform and the communities that can travel because they are rooted in accessibility and ritual and shared meaning within these platforms. It's the experience and the connection, the human connection that they're building together. Now, there's a whole alt space community in VR chat. And as Horizon closes down, Comco Theater Community Theater Company is pivoting over to VR chat. And for Ferryman Collective, we build our worlds in Unity. So even if VR chat goes away, which we hope it doesn't, the worlds themselves will still exist and they can be recreated elsewhere. And the communities that survive these platforms and the platform changes are usually the ones that value each other more than the software that they're standing in. So what I think about the future of the metaverse, when I think about whether we are building spaces where people can feel present, can feel connected, and feel needed. From the perspective of VR theater, the metaverse is not just a world people enter, but a world they can help bring to life together. And that, to me, is where community begins and where the metaverse will flourish. And I've always said, to me, people are the killer app. So thank you so much for listening to all of my crazy ramblings and letting me share a little bit of what we do here at Ferryman Collective.
That's amazing, Deirdre. And for anybody who hasn't experienced this, I highly recommend. It's really, I got just a little demo at Immersive X conference. And what was cool is seeing the behind the scenes and all the buttons you guys have and controls and everything. And and it's cool that you're making that in Unity because it would be easier to move to a different platform, I assume.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff that would be hard to translate as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And stick around for our Q&A. Last but not least, we have Athena Demos. Athena is an amazing woman who I've known for some years. She's a co-founder and CEO of Big Rock Creative, which is an award-winning XR experience company creating experiences like the Burner Sphere. She's won numerous awards. It seems like every time I go to a conference, she's winning another award. And I know her from the Metaverse, and I guess it was 2020 during the pandemic. We connected in this Burner Sphere, BRC VR, where she recreated with Doug and an amazing team, recreated the whole playa. And, she's getting models from artists who build large-scale art out there and putting it into the metaverse. And she's doing so much more now, I can't even begin to explain. So, Athena, why don't you come on and tell us what you've been up to and share some of your cool stuff.
Hi, everyone. And thank you, Ed, for that wonderful introduction. I'm Athena Demos, co-founder and CEO of Big Rock Creative. And none of this is possible without Doug Jacobson, our Chief Creative and Technical Officer. Both of our backgrounds actually come from television and film production, mainly documentary filmmaking. So we come from this as a production studio. We've spent the last 6 years building immersive worlds for some of the world's most recognizable brands and communities. And through all of it, one question kept driving us forward. What does it actually feel like to live inside a story, not just watch it? So that question and our love and involvement in the Burning Man community is what led us to build Burnersphere. And it's exactly what this panel is about, because the answer has everything to do with platforms and community and what happens when the ground shifts beneath you. So before I get into our journey, I want to ask you the same question that this slide asks. Is it, what story do you have to tell? We all have stories. And for us, the story was Burning Man, one of the most visually extraordinary, culturally complex, and deeply communal events on the planet. A temporary city of 80,000 people that disappears every year, leaving nothing but the memory of what happened there. And that felt like exactly the right story to preserve, but not to passively watch it. You need to participate, to radically express yourself, to be radically included. We have these principles, and they're all states of doing. And to just watch something like a YouTube video isn't doing. And we wanted to solve that problem. So here's where it gets relevant, because our story is a direct answer to the question, what happens to a community when a platform disappears? So we were an award-winning world builders on the AltSpace VR platform. We won the Producers Guild Innovation Award, a couple Augies, a Telly, and many others. Working with Microsoft, we built experiences that pushed what social VR could do, with Brianna's Garden, an emotional tribute that brought thousands of people into a shared space of remembrance, or Pride Has No Borders, a celebration of global LGBTQ plus community, a full digital twin of Microsoft's New York office building for their engineering team, even a global hackathon campus for their hackathon. We did experiences for the UN Youth Council and the Google Leadership Training. CalArts did a graduation with us. LVRN record label started premiering artists with us. And we built a really fun stadium for Cricket First for their championship game in Malaga, Spain. All of this started just because we wanted to get the burners together in a space, because we're a community and we needed a home, and Burning Man couldn't happen in 2020. So each of these was a community that needed a home of their own, and AltSpace VR gave us the tools and taught us so many skills to build those homes. Then in January of 2023, Microsoft sunset the platform, and just like that, the worlds were gone. So we took a moment, we mourned, and then we moved. We're a duocracy. We started evaluating alternatives immediately. We looked at over 440 platforms. We didn't just browse them. We spoke to their developers directly. We tested build pipelines. We stress tested community tools. We uploaded worlds, and we found the same gap everywhere. No platform gave us full creative freedom, archival depth, or the community building tools that we were needing. So I realized how crazy this is going to sound. We decided to build our own. So 2 years later, Big Rock Creative had a custom standalone platform on the Meta Store for Quest 2, 3, and 3S, and on the Steam Store for PC VR and desktop. And Burnersphere, formerly known as BRCVR, became our first major project on it. The lesson for us: if you're going to build worlds for communities that matter, you cannot outsource your infrastructure to a platform you don't control. You have to design for longevity from the start. And many of the platforms we were considering, including Horizon, are already gone. So what is Burnersphere exactly? So Burnersphere, it's the official virtual Burning Man experience created by what we are now calling our team BRCVR in collaboration with the Burning Man Project. But calling it a virtual event undersells it significantly. Burnersphere is a new format of immersive storytelling or documentary. And for this audience in particular, I want to talk about how we built it, because the tech stack is genuinely novel. We combine 360 and 180 filmed footage at Black Rock City at Burning Man. We put in photogrammetry scans of real art installations and structures Gaussian splat captures, which the image on the screen is one, all woven together inside a real-time multiplayer rendered environment with advanced interactivity. You're not just watching the film, you're walking through it, you're interacting with it, with other people, in a shared presence. The platform is built from the ground up as a custom standalone app, not a port, not a mod of an existing platform, and it's accessible with or without a headset. Desktop mode means everyone can participate, which was a non-negotiable design requirement for us. And I'm proud to say, Burnersphere was just named Experience of the Year at the Polly's Immersive Awards this past March. It's actually our first award for this iteration of the project. So this isn't a game engine demo. It's a new documentary storytelling format, and we believe it's the most technically sophisticated example of what social VR storytelling can be right now. So what makes this format different comes down to 4 things, and each one was a deliberate design decision. First, the immersive documentary format itself. You filmed moments in time. You stand at the temple burn. You discover cultural hubs that tell the story of what Burning Man actually is, and not just what it looks like. Second is our custom UI and embodied interaction. Everything in the interface is designed to simulate physical presence in a digital space. Navigation is intuitive, social connection is built into the architecture. This wasn't adapted from an off-the-shelf UI framework. Doug and the team built it from scratch, and we are adding functionality all the time. And actually, and I put it in here as UI because that's how people understand it, but we don't even call it UI anymore. We call it PI, the participant's interface, because when you design for participation, you are designing something different. So we have PX and PI. And third, we have evergreen storytelling. We've been capturing content at Burning Man events from 2022 through 2025, and will continue. The world grows, the documentary expands, and it's designed to be alive indefinitely. Not a one-time experience or a documentary of 1 year. Think of each documentary video as an episode for the unfolding of this ongoing story. And then fourth is accessibility for all. No headset required. It's more immersive if you have one, but radically inclusive to everyone. And here's the thing about our community we built on AltSpace VR. They didn't disappear when the platform did. They came with us. And Burnersphere is designed around that reality. The platform enables global participation for people who can never attend the physical event, whether because of cost, geography, disability, or circumstance. Everyone has the reason why going to the Black Rock Desert is super difficult. And this has become radical inclusion in the most literal sense. Every artist featured in Burnersphere is credited inside the app with links to their own websites. We're not just displaying their work, we're directing audiences back to them, often to their fundraising pages. And the community is the point. And the world is genuinely alive. We host in-world community events, art talks, dance parties, live programming. We have events happening almost every day. So you're not just watching the story, you're really helping to shape it. So for world builders, sustainability is the question nobody wants to ask because the answer is usually challenging. So let me give you the real one for us. Burnersphere is free to join. It's radically inclusive. And we encourage everyone to contribute to what we call camp dues. You become a campmate for full access, which unlocks all 35 member worlds, and we open and add new worlds every other week. It's $48 a year for our camp dues. At Burning Man, people pay camp dues to help contribute to the gift the camp is providing to the community. Everyone chips in so the camp's activity can happen. It might cover the cost of generators, sound systems, shade structures, camp showers, porta potties. And for Burnersphere, it's servers, functionality, bug fixes, adding more art and film elements, and yes, porta potties. you get to contribute to this global gift. We currently have over 2,100 early adopters in beta, and we're growing every week. We have 10 core worlds available to all of our guests. Most of our events are open to all the guests. And then we have 4 year-specific worlds, which we're building right now, gearing up for our 2026 season. We have 35 worlds that are open to members and 18 more already on the docket coming soon. And mark this on your calendar. On May 9th, we have a very special double feature temple event where we will have a panel of key players in the temple project and then premiere the temple museum, which I am so excited to share with everyone. These are models of all the temples dating back to 2000 all the way to the current 2025 that you can explore. The entire historic record of the temple project. And shortly after, we'll reveal the 2026 Temple of the Moon experience and have a talk with the designer, James Gortzman, and the chief architect, Annie Lockshear. Everyone is welcome to participate in this event. The platform itself can be repurposed. We can create a white labeled version for festivals, museums, studios, filmmakers, and educational institutions for their own immersive storytelling projects, giving them full ownership. Burnersphere is the blueprint, and your story could be next. So what we've built has 4 qualities we believe define the next generation of immersive world building: an innovative format, general cultural impact, real technical achievement, and a fundamental transformation of what storytelling can be. So if you're a creator, an institution, or a community with a story worth preserving and reliving, we want to talk to you. This is a communal effort, and we love telling stories together. So I want to show you Burnersphere, and we're going to go into that app. But before we do, we have a gift for you, because as burners, we believe in the gifting economy. So Burnersphere is free to join at burnersphere.com, and you can scan that QR code. And we invite you to become a full campmate and contribute to the gift for everyone else. You will gain full access to the 35 worlds wherever you want to go. It actually might be more than 35 by now. That was the count when I wrote this. But I have this code for you, and this is just for the people on this call. And the first 30 to use it will get 15% off your annual camp dues. The code is good, like I said, for the first 30 people. So scan the QR code, write down that 30 SIGCOM, SIG community 151. And let's just stop talking, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to switch over from this, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. And now here we are. It's so funny, when we did our tech check, the sun was setting. We have something in the app called time of day. It's our sundial system. So the sun actually goes across the sky just as it would on the Black Rock Desert during the time of year that Burning Man is happening. So we have sunset, we have the night sky. You can look up and see the beautiful stars. The star pattern is actually set to the way it is over the Black Rock Desert. So you can see the constellations, they are there. And our sunsets are just gorgeous. And so are our dawns. You can see the map of Burning Man for those that have been there. This will be true to your heart for those that haven't. This is a way for you to experience it before going. And I can see Ed standing right in front of me. Hi, Ed, if you can wave to everyone. We have ourselves muted in World, so we're not echoing back. And the first thing, he's going to do a little dance for us. What I want to pay particular attention to is to show you how we mesh 360 footage into our rendered spaces. So this is a rendered space, and we're going to walk, and this red star on the map is where we're standing. We're going to walk into the center of Center Camp, and I'm going to show you a 360 video. So here we go. So anytime you see a blue circle on the ground, that blue circle tells you that there's a video that's going to start playing. You walk in it, you get these little dots going around. They will resolve depending on the speed of your internet, because these are all streaming. You're actually in a video now. So we just walked seamlessly between digital and physical reality. And that guy in the blue shirt sitting on the couch is Doug. And I love the woman crashed out in the green tutu. And if you look off in the distance, you can see a T-Rex, a light up T-Rex in the background walking by. This is a moment in time that actually happened at Burning Man. And there's other ways that we utilize video. You can come over, there's stages at Center Camp, and you can come over and see performers. This is actually something that we could stream live. We did do live streaming at Burning Man this year. We streamed the Man Burn and the Temple Burn into Burnersphere. It's the first time Burning Man had ever allowed anybody else to do a live stream. We were the first. The other thing I want to show you, which is a lot of people are going to be interested in, is we're going to go over here. First, let me just show you, like, this is Burning Man. You can see the man in the distance, Center Camp. The Tiny Playa Hub is where you can see a full photogrammatic scan of the entire city of Burning Man, which is pretty impressive. But since I'm looking at the time, we're going to go over here into our post office. And this is where we go to see our 3D Gaussian splats. These just got put into the app, and there's a lot of them, and these were all shot this past year. And what I want to get to, there we go, the 2025 man base. So we're going to look at the 2025 man base, and you can walk around them. These are like 360 moments in time that are 3D models. So here we are, there's our man, and we can go underneath and we can look at each. So the man base is it's an art gallery. So there's all these different pieces of art. There's these beautiful butterflies. They actually had a cool sound installation in them. There's standalone art. This was a beautiful bell. And I'd love to, at some point in time, we just got these in, so we don't have interactivity in the Gaussian splats, but if we could get that bell to work, that was really amazing. Then we have this gallery. So you can see that we just did full scans of huge pieces. Whoops, I want to get back out here. Huge pieces of art. I mean, that's like the full man. I mean, it's not like the full man, it is the full man. And we can walk up the ramp and go to it. And we can be there with other people. Now, if I want to find out where the other people are on the platform, I can open up my friend browser and I can see, oh, there's Ed. And Ed's still at Center Camp. So I can actually go to him back at Center Camp. So you can see all your friends, you can see where they are, you can go to them. We have a billboard that'll show you all the events that are going on. There's a little button so that you can go directly to them. So here's our billboard, and it'll show you the next events that are going on. I'm leading a meditation tomorrow on Wednesday, so you can come and do that. That's right here. We also have a world selector. You can scroll through and see all the different things that there is to see, and there's a lot. And that's not even all of them. So I got one more thing I'm going to show you, and then I'm gonna stop. I want to show you this map, and then I'm going to show you an art card. So this map, you can see the star moved, and we're now here. All these red squares are different worlds, and so you can use the world selector, or you can go world hopping. So you can go through the 6 o'clock road and then see all the art that's there. And there's a lot of portals in each one of the worlds. And these are the main hub worlds where there's portals. And you can go from 6 o'clock to the man base, or you can go to east or west, or you can go to 3 o'clock or 9 o'clock, or, you know, out here to Deep Playa. There is a Daft Punk at the trash fence. It's an Easter egg. You have to find it. It's hidden somewhere. You might want to check the porta potties, but I didn't tell you that. There's a fun jazz club also hidden somewhere. Might also be in a portal party. And that's basically it. And before I end, I just want to show you, this is by Ed's request. He wanted me to take you on an art car ride. And so that's what we're going to do. So this is the naughty list. This is our art car that we created. It does not exist in reality. We created it just for Burnersphere. Oh, and every time you go in and out of a world, you're in a dust storm. And this is an actually filmed dust storm from Burning Man. And now here we are, we're on the naughty list. Oh, we're standing next to the cocky art car. I think we're loading up and getting ready to go out onto the playa. There's center camp. You can walk up to, you can grab bottles of alcohol and pretend like you're drinking them. You can go up and pretend like you're driving. Woo! And the art car does move. It will take off at some point in time. But what it is it's a model inside of a video. So sometimes you walk inside of a video, and sometimes it's a model inside of a video, and that's what this is. So you can see our dance floor. We have our DJ rig. Doug just did a great party here the other day. Oh, we're taking off. So much like most art cars, you don't really get a choice of where they're going to go. So I'm going to head back up and let's see where we are heading to. And we have lots of different of these art car rides, the same art car, but different videos. Some of them are daytime, some of them are nighttime. So you can really spend a lot of time exploring the playa this way. It's always fun taking an art car ride. And that's it for me. Thank you all so much for going on this journey with me. Everyone's welcome to join. Like I said, tomorrow morning, I'll be leading a meditation. And, oh, actually not tomorrow morning, apologies. It'll be the week after. I'm actually in Amsterdam for the Burning Man European Leadership Conference, and we have an event happening tomorrow. But we have a creator meetup happening on Wednesday evening, and every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time, we have a world tour with Swirly, who's been going to Burning Man since 1995. He's a world of information. We do artist talks all the time. We have like the temple event. We're going to have a sustainability event. We have a guy who climbed to the top of Mount Everest that's going to be doing a talk about that inside of Burnersphere. Yeah.
Thanks, Athena. Like Athena said, for anyone who's not been to Burning Man, which is really, I imagine it's the largest large-scale art installation in the world. Wouldn't you say, Athena?
Yes, it is definitely the largest large-scale art installations in the world. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, and people do complain because it can be a little harsh. The desert weather can change in a moment, from a beautiful evening to a horrible dust storm or rain or whatever. But that does keep some people away, although that's part of the experience. But
yes,
certainly, if you're curious, Burnersphere is absolutely the next best thing to being there. And it was fun to actually go out with you in 2003 and shoot some content.
That was a lot of fun. And yes, the weather is harsh, but it is shared suffering that creates community.
Exactly.
If you think of natural disasters that happen all over the world, people come together for survival, and that creates community. And so we're putting ourselves into this super harsh environment to create community. We created community in the digital spaces because of COVID and us not being able to get together. We also have harsh realities happening all over the globe, and people are finding that these digital spaces break down the country barriers and give us the opportunity to come together. So it's definitely a community building platform. But we wanted to have creative control to be able to do stuff like this, which is pretty remarkable.
Thank you so much for sharing. And why don't we bring all the panelists up now? And if you guys have any questions or comments even, pop them into the Q&A box and we'll bring it up with the panelists here. So you can meet the best people in a dust storm. Absolutely. Well, I'll start with some questions here. And, we've been talking about how these platforms. In fact, there is a question in here about this. For everyone, Vaughn asks, for everyone building worlds, what does your basic production pipeline look like loosely now to future-proof your creation or community? So, I think we've talked about that a little bit. Anybody have anything they'd like to add? And with regards to future-proofing?
When I started, I mean, I was using the simplest tools that existed back then were things like Lightwave, 3D Studio, and Photoshop to create the assets, the 3D assets. And again, VRML, what it was it became a standard so that you had, reusable assets for real-time 3D that could be basically imported into, any platform that would come. So it's no joke that the pants that I wore or JPEG, the pants I wear are 30 years old now. The buildings in the Arcadia Virtual Campus, those buildings, part of them were built 30 years ago, part of them were built 25 years ago, or 20 years ago in Second Life, because there was at least I mean, I had to have everything rebuilt for Second Life to start with because it had its own system of prim, solid base modeling, which I hadn't seen actually since early mid 80s, Swivel 3D.
Reusing some of the models you created back when?
Yeah, I mean, if you have, that's the whole point. The assets can be reused, and the idea is to keep them in their simplest state. Because even if you go to Unity, they're going to end up as a Unity file where you're going to end, adding, interactive data to them. And at that point, you're already trapped in the Unity format, becoming that interactive format. So, one of the great things with standards, I mean, again, VRML to X3D to GLTF, and there was also Collada and other tools thrown in there. So everybody had made their own flavor for a while in the mid 2000s, but they give you longevity.
We're trying to do some, keeping documentation, of course, doing, 2D recordings of things and exploring like the idea of 360 recordings of things so that it gets preserved in some way. But I just have to do a quick shout out to Julian Reyes, who built the Virtual Worlds Museum, which is an incredible resource to find all of the old and is trying to document all of these past experiences and worlds that have come and gone. And so he's building this amazing resource for people to be able to access sort of this lovely history that, Larry, that you sort of went through in your presentation. So just if anybody hasn't check that out.
Well, one of the galleries I had when I first went into Second Life in 2006 on the first developers island, it was the Cubic Gallery, 15 years of virtual world building. Then by the next time I did it, it was 20 years, then 25 years as they kept adding things to. So now I think tonight it's 35 years. So it grows.
We are always looking at the OpenXR standards and building within that model, but we're Unity based. And we have several worlds that have ported onto other platforms besides, the one that we built. But we try to keep ourselves as interoperable as possible.
That's awesome. Athena, I remember at AWE, you gave a talk some years ago after AltSpace shut down, and I remember the theme was we're not going to do another walled garden. We're going to do our own app. But at the same time, I guess Unity itself is a platform, right?
Yes. An engine.
An engine, yes, a game.
It's an engine, yeah.
Which I suppose isn't going to be going away anytime soon. Does everybody feel pretty confident in Unity as a engine?
I feel confident as Unity as an engine. But even so, the file formats that we can export to can be utilized by other engines. You know, the FBX and my mind just went blank. The WebGL, what's the other one?
USD, they're trying to.
Yeah.
USD is one that Apple has put its.
Yeah, that's out. But so there's file formats. And so, yeah, we're built on the Unity engine, but it's just files. And as long as whatever we're building is in these file formats that can get utilized on the engine that we decide to use, Unity is great because it's already optimized for mobile. It works really great with the VR headsets, the standalone VR headsets that are out there. You don't have to do all sorts of added optimization to try to get it to work. And so we decided to go with Unity. Also, Altspace was already Unity. All of our assets were already in that format.
Right.
So why reinvent the wheel? We just went with it. If anybody wants to participate in Burnersphere, we get this question asked all the time, like, how do I get my art and my assets into Burnersphere? We do not have a Unity uploader. We have decided to, at this stage, we're going to do it at some point, but at this stage of our app, we want people to submit their content to us. We look at it, make sure it's optimized, and then put it up. We're not curating the content other than it needs to be, family friendly. But, we're not going to look at your art and judge it in any way. We're not a gallery, but we will, curate it in the fact that because we have open scripting, we don't want what we love to call TTP happening inside of our platform.
Right. I think one of the main issues, it's not just an engine, it's that it's a distribution platform. That's why, in 2008, what I was going to do was build what was going to be Mediaverse coming out of the Starbase and the work that was done in Second Life in Unity. That was my plan in 2008. Again, I know Unity from 2003. So I was going to use Unity to do it, but it was going to be web-based because Unity first started as a web-based 3D engine. It worked in browsers. It didn't have its own, it wasn't its own ecosystem and its own store. In other words, or the App Store, which is where things are trapped now. That all changed with the music industry and iTunes and Apple. I think that's the one catch that people have to realize as well, is that, the Cambrian explosion creatively online was the web. It wasn't the app stores. The app stores are what led to, I think, the last decade of why we have 3 billionaires and everybody else hoping that the billionaires have a platform that we can make, our 100,000 in. That I think has been a dilemma of the last 10 years. It didn't start that way, but it became that way. And I think that's one of the cautionary tales of, community building, of any content creation in the digital world today.
And we are looking at building a web interface.
Right.
So that you can now enter it from the browser and enter it from the computer and enter it from the headset. Like, we want it to be as inclusive as possible.
And that's and that's the smartest. Yeah. That's the place for it to end up being, because just like having a website with your own server, your own ISP, you control the gate. There's no middleman making a step or a good or bad to get in your way, which is the dilemma that we've all had. Just quickly, the story of 35 years is when I wanted to build creative and games and content, I went to the only people with the technology was people like Autodesk and Stratavision, and all they wanted to build were tools. And then 3 years later, and all they wanted to build was content. And when you wanted to build tools, and it's been a back and forth because, again, you're at the wave of hype cycles, where Web3 and NFTs were, the last cycle, and AI is the current cycle. I mean, I wish you well with Unity, to be honest. I just hope that the AI cycle isn't going to swallow Unity anytime soon as a company.
Yeah. Now, Larry, you're working with like WebXR essentially, right?
Well, I'm kind of primarily in hibernation with a lot of the work. I mean, what I'm hoping to do, I was, in these state of the metaverse that we've been doing for the last 4 years, it's trying to see where one can navigate. And I mean, all the things I showed, I mean, there was their alt space versions, there were the Sansar versions. I did have stuff in. I mean, I did spend 2 years trying to communicate with the owners of VR chat,
Yes.
but they were ghosts. I didn't meet them. I didn't meet the team between for VR chat until Real at AWE a year ago. I couldn't. There was no person to talk to. I mean, I had invisible evangelists moving me around, showing me stuff, and I'm like, all right, kid, I get it.
Larry, the question I'm trying to ask is with regards to onboarding.
Right.
I know that like WebXR, you just basically go to a
that's again, that's where it started. That's where it's got to come back to. The thing that is the worst part of it is when you're dealing with all the weight of a middleman, distribution platform like Meta, and then another one like Unity, and the app loading in charge of it. But when the web, again, it was you just go to a URL, click, and then you're in it.
You're there. Well, let's kick it over to Athena and Deidre because does WebXR type platform not have the features and the power that you need?
So it doesn't. It doesn't have the graphic quality that we need, and it doesn't have but it's still Unity, even though it's WebGL. It's still Unity. We're still building all of our worlds in Unity, and then creating a web interface. So Unity has a web interface. So we're still utilizing Unity when we build these worlds, but the browsers themselves, Chrome is actually pretty good. Chrome can handle these three-dimensional spatial worlds pretty well. Safari, no. And we've tried.
That's Apple's
Safari's
choice.
not there. Firefox actually isn't bad. For a while, we actually had a really good web browser called Wolvik, but I don't think anybody ever really used it. Now we have RP1, which is supposed to be a spatial, but their graphic quality also isn't like to make the art look like the art. Like this is a full photogrammatic scan of the playa, and to get that to work on the web is like next to impossible.
That's not. I don't buy that as true. I mean, their rendering engine at RP1 isn't the same rendering engine that Unity's using, but the issue of WebGL and the graphic quality that works inside of browsers with the right engine being put through the browser, it's the same. It really hasn't changed in almost 20 years. I mean, there are examples that I showed in slides of work that I did, which looks like what was being shown today. The lighting has all. I mean, again, and as I said, Unity started with as a web player.
I agree with you. It hasn't changed in 20 years, but what we're building in Burnersphere has. Like from the graphic quality when we were on AltSpace to what we have now is considerably better than what we had even on AltSpace. And then when we go to the browser, we're still dealing with having to make a lot of our models very boxy and having to decrease our polygon count in order to get it to smoothly render in real time. And this is something that we're actively working on. And that is the next thing on our roadmap, is to have a web version. We just upgraded to Unity 6.3. So that is, they have a web, they know that that's the future as well. They're working towards it. We're on that road with them. Every time we update to a new version, we're like crossing our fingers that not too much breaks. And they're I'm very impressed with them. And they're also incredibly helpful. Like we can reach out to them and they respond. They give us engineers that help us, figure out problem solving. AI's made it a lot easier. We don't need them as often. A lot of our problems get solved with Claude Code, which has been really, really helpful.
Right.
Deirdre, you have any comments on that?
Just only that, I think that a lot of people feel like, WebXR is the way to get people into this 3D space. I don't think I get the simplicity of it, but I also don't think there's a lot of difference between saying, hey, this is a web browser 3D space. And when you think of what we're doing, you just think of an app on your phone. It's just getting that connection made. Like you have to get an account on an app in your phone. Any single app you do, you have to make an account and then you can use your app. So I think it's just a shift in mentality. When hardware gets slighter and faster and, is more comfortable, I think as that happens, more and more people will more easily adopt. It's okay that it's still hard and clunky and we're still like figuring it all out, because if it was easy, we wouldn't be doing it. Meta would be doing it. Google would be doing it. All the big companies doing it. Because it's hard, we have an opportunity to create something fantastic.
Yeah, keeping it hard is why they stay being Meta and Google. In other words, the friction is what is their sell. This is the truth. I mean, again, I can only point to what I've seen for the decades of doing this. Simplicity, we want it because we have content we want to get out to people. They need to have a way of controlling that content because that's where they make their money on the people. So, it's like a television show saying, well, we want all the commercials gone because we want the full hour. And then, well, we're not going to put you on the air because we need 15 minutes to put the commercial.
With TiVo, it was great. With all the you like.
Well, streaming again.
Well, and that's why we have the business model that we have. It's like we're decommodified. So the community has to chip in to make it possible. The community wants it, then it'll happen.
Absolutely. I mean, fandom was built on those models. I mean, Comic-Con is nothing more than Burning Man inside of a convention center. I mean, again, I've not
with a lot of commodification.
I've never gone to Burning Man, but I've been going to Star Trek conventions for 40 years, so it's the same energy. It's just,
it is the same energy.
It is the same energy. Yeah.
But
I mean, even with a web-based platform, as Deidre was saying, you still have to set up an account. Our participant interface is our participant interface. You still have to learn it. So the onboarding is the only difference is that you don't have to download an app when you're web-based. That's the only difference, but you still have to set up an account. You still have to learn the interface. You still have to figure out how to friend people and go through the settings and all that's still there.
You didn't need an account on web pages. That was the whole point. Is that you?
No. What I'm saying is if you want to participate in a social VR space, you need an account because you have to have a name. You have to have an avatar. You have to be able to friend people. Friending people pings a database so that, we know how everyone is connected. And if you're gonna hang on to assets that are yours, your avatar is your asset, then you need to have an account.
Only if you're going that far, but to visit, I mean, as I said, the RP1, which is not a browser yet, but a paper and implementation, you can go in as a visitor just by clicking. I mean, all you have to do is RP1.com.
So it's low barrier to entry for
no barrier to try for free. Yeah. You want to stay, make an account. Just like getting a Google account and using the Google tools or anything else.
I mean, and that's ultimately what we're going to end up doing. But we have a guest account now, but because we want people to friend each other because we're about community building first.
Right.
We still want people, even as a guest, to set up an account. And it's as easy as like OAuth. Pick your Google or your Apple and do an OAuth and boom, you have an account and you're done.
But one advantage you have is that you already have a known brand, a known IP. When Deidre puts on a play, it's an unknown quantity. Starbase was an unknown quantity. Now, if I put out a Star Wars game, people are going to come and beat themselves over the head to try it and to make fun of it and blame it on social media. The point is if you have a well-known IP, there are certain things that you don't have to do to get an audience. That's one of the platform issues, is that if you don't have a well-known IP and you're building it within a platform, as I said before, it's difficult to get an audience to come with it. If you build the game right now in Roblox, and you haven't gotten it to the level of the top 10 games of Roblox, building it in Unity and putting it on the web as a web XR game won't do you much good, because all the players are still on that Roblox place.
Good question. How do you build community from scratch? And Deirdre, you've kind of done that. I mean, how are you attracting people to your experiences?
Well, we usually start by going through the festival circuit, and that's how we build visibility and let people get to know who we are, and then that we go from there. So each of the 4 major shows have gone through the festival circuit and been introduced to people in different places within the world. So that's kind of how we've done it. And yeah, of course, Athena has the fabulous Burner Sphere community to sort of come together and bring this together. And I love what they're doing at RP1. I'm a huge fan of those guys and what they're building. I think it's amazing, and I'm excited to see where it goes and where it ends up, right?
Well, speaking of that, let's just talk about the future. I mean, where do each of you see all of this going in the future? Where would you like it to go, and where do you think it should go? Let me just throw that out there.
I see this is where we're going. Like more and more people, especially in certain enterprise industries, are adopting this at lightning speed. Healthcare, training, at lightning speed, at how quickly they're adopting metaverse worlds, social VR. Right. It's really picking up. I go to a lot of conferences, and healthcare is like the biggest track.
Right. I mean,
I'm very, very impressed with the work that's coming out of that.
Nice to hear that.
And if I had a medical background, I'd probably jump in there, but I have an entertainment background. So what we're looking for is like museums, other festivals, right, other filmmakers that want to tell their story in this way. And that's the direction that we're going in. But right, I do believe that spatial 3D interfaces is the direction that we're going to go in. Spatial 3D websites is the direction that we are going to go in.
Right. It's been the direction we've been going in for 30 years. I mean, it's just a very simple equation, is that the tech industry is built on selling you the next fastest chip. Once you get, and the next fastest chip, what can it do for you? You don't need an NVIDIA $8,000 card to do WordPerfect. You wanted it to do mining, 3D rendering, and AI. And those are the building blocks of what the whole Web3 thing was and still is. And the metaverse is not dead. It's just that it became a brand name for one man's vision, and he didn't execute it in a way that it brought a return on investment for other people other than himself. So no one came and no one could make money. So, I mean, that's the truth of it, is that there's only two, people look for return on investment or a return on experience. And if you don't have either for them, they go away or they don't join the club. And that's where Meta has made its mistake. So moving in the direction of a spatial internet or a spatial, World Wide Web, because that was the success of the internet for everyone for a certain amount of time, is where it has to move back to. If it doesn't, then we end up with the closed system of social media, which I think a lot of people will agree for the last decade is probably the bane of our existence right now. Yes. As a country and a club. And that's the closed system of, again, a few oligarchs and a few visions, including what their vision was of the metaverse. And that's not what I think content creators want, or people who do content community creation, because it just, we have to be able to build what we want for the audience that wants it.
That is the vision of RP1,
Yeah.
right? Is to have a web browser for metaverses, so you can have one.
That was the
browser.
original version of VRML. Yeah, that
Brilliant.
was that was the vision in 1994. That was the vision I've done in every project for the last 35 years, and had to fight to get each inch faster, harder with another company until they got it wrong, went out of business, and then somebody else came in. I mean, honestly, Meta is recopied the prototype of Second Life, and they've now failed in the same way that why Second Life never grew out of, why Second Life never received, 100 million users, and 200 million users. And in a sense, Altspace and others made the same, we're all heading down the same path. And hopefully, and RP1 has really reproduced the white paper of the mid 90s in idea of metaverse, what metaverse should be.
Deirdre, what do you see in the future?
Well, for us, we're theater makers and storytellers, and we want to grow not only Ferryman Collective, but the next generation of theater creators, which will help create more audiences and more people interested in creating this storytelling platform. So that's really our focus, is much more within storytelling in a theatrical environment. And we prefer immersive interactive stories, but there's space for proscenium theater within VR as well. And so we're working on we'll be doing a mentorship of a VR theater director who's never done a show within virtual reality, and shepherding them through that process. And it's part of
very cool
what's important to us. Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, Deirdre, you beat me to it. You posted Julian's article, and when we started talking about the meta's not the metaverse, I was like, oh, I should get that article. And the minute I thought it, you posted it in the chat. So to everyone, this is a really great article, and I've definitely shared it out. It's a really good telling of they took on this name, and it was ridiculous at the time when they took it on. And then they tried to wear it like they're the one, when the rest of us knew that the metaverse is this thing. It's like saying that they're the internet. They're not. Right. And they took it on, and then they're like, okay, we're going to shut it down. And the media is like, metaverse is dead. And it's like, what are you talking about? It's like saying, okay, no more internet. We're done. That's not going to happen.
Having been at AOL in the days and putting Starbase on it with a deal in the mid 90s, that's exactly who AOL thought they were. They were going to be, they were the internet. And it turned out they weren't the internet.
Nope.
Well, by definition, there is only one metaverse, right?
Right. Well, it's Tony Parisi's what is the rules of the metaverse. Again, this is what I'm saying. These are the conversations that we had at the New York VRML SIG and the early SIGs in 95. In virtual reality, in multi-user, in Black Sun technology, named after Black Sun from the metaverse.
Exactly.
It's freaking awesome.
So I mean,
turning fiction into reality.
We need to wind it down.
That was the whole point.
We need to wind it down. But one last thing, let's throw out there. We're talking about the future. AI is right. How is AI going to influence what we're doing?
That's made our lives so much easier. Oh my gosh. Such as I can't even begin to describe how useful of a tool it is. You got to be careful. You got to check your code. You have to look for safeguards. But it has definitely made this entire process of world building easier. I think it's decommodified. I think it's democratized it. More people have the tools in their hands to be world builders, to be storytellers than ever before. And because more people now have this capability, they just now need to be empowered. And with more creators, it'll grow faster.
I don't want to play contrarian.
Any comment, Larry? on AI?
I'm in a contrarian role here in some ways. I agree with a lot of the sentiments, but the experience has been is that some of these terms, democratization, if it becomes too easy, then it becomes Slopville, and then it becomes a place where, like in a sense, Google search, putting your opinions on the internet is very easy today. That's kind of what made social media happen, but it's also what gave us the real world that social media creates. Everybody has an opinion in a sense. Uh, I think they're, I think of a speech I heard. A writer, a well-known journalist, gave a speech at my younger brother's graduation from college in the late '80s, and basically, the secret to life is editing. William Safire said that, and I mean, because it makes it makes things a little tougher. I mean, it's tougher to critique your own work, before you just stick it on Facebook and have the world, judge it and worse, make it viral. So
Well, I think, doesn't the better content rise to the top, though?
I don't know if that's true. In Flotsam and Jetsam was that website that the Alt.Coffee guys named in the first cyber cafe in New York in 1994. It was called Flotsam and Jetsam. That was the joke, is that the internet was going to be flotsam and jetsam of the human condition. It was ironic, it was satirical, and I think in a lot of ways it's turned out to be true. And I don't know if the last 30 years have been good stuff rising to the top in the mass medium. I'm not sure if that's true.
Right on. Deirdre, any thoughts about AI?
Larry, you've been in this space just a very long time, and I appreciate your vision and history and all the things that you've seen.
But
haven't been in it as long. I'm still very excited about like where it's heading and going, and I know that you are too, especially with what RP1 is doing. But I appreciate the perspective. I tend to use AI. It's a good tool for us. I know Color uses it, but I certainly do think that we need to have guardrails as a society and a community on what we think of as where we want to go as a species. I'm not sure that we are strong enough to do so now, but at some point, I think things will break to
right.
We have to.
Right? Yeah, and just to FYI, Starbase C3 was an optimistic, not a dystopian science fiction story. I mean, most people don't know the story of the world, but it was essentially a world that had gone through 100 years of VR dystopia, and the universe said it's time to wake up because you're getting nowhere, planet, and you're not going any place. So the rest of the galaxy came here and said it's time to wake up. We're not giving you much of a choice. So
I love that you were putting actors in these spaces 10 years
yeah.
prior. Like it's so inspiring and very cool to see the black sun the way you rendered it and created.
Yeah, I mean, my partners at that point quickly were even in my earliest of digital and pre-digital days were West Side off-Broadway types. So Tony and Tina's Wedding and all the original interactive theater. Yeah. These were all people that I was putting this technology into their hands in the earliest of '90s in New York as well. So to me, it's just been a continuation. And what I like is that there are more. I mean, in other words, I could say this now and you get it. That's the win. It's not like me standing in front of Sony in 1997 and them saying, "Well, who do you got?" And I go, "No. The star of the show is the person who's in the show. They're the one who's they're the star." And I go, "No. I got to get Harrison Ford." But I think there's step by step, there's more people who get it. And more people want to do it. And I think even more IPs will understand it. I mean, I think that's what's going. And as Hollywood and these places break up, I think Anthony mentioned museums. That's the one reason that LA is great. LA now is wherever Hollywood goes, this is museum time in LA. This is baby boomers who want legacies. And Lucas is the biggest boy in the block, waiting for his thing to open in another few months. But the concept of immersive museums, and then how it can be also taken out of the building into, a larger business, is, that's what I think the so-called death of the metaverse is wildly, taken to. It's premature.
Right on.
Well,
Larry, hopefully it doesn't take us 100 of VR dystopia.
Yeah, I don't want it to take that long at all.
I got no choice.
Guys, we're gonna close it now. Feel free to jump off. Thank you so much. It's been a really interesting panel. I've really had a lot of fun. And let's bring Abilene back up to bring us out.
And thank you, Ed, for putting this together. Like, this has been a really great conversation. So I just want to give you kudos.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely, everybody. Oh my goodness, what an incredible presentation. You guys are so inspiring, and I am honored and humbled by your presence here tonight. I'm very grateful. Thank you all so much for your time. It's been a true pleasure having you with us. Larry, Deirdre, and Athena, thank you so much for sharing your insights, experiences, and visions with our community. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're all rock stars.
Yes, you are. I also want to recognize the LAACM SIGGRAPH chapter technical production team. Of course, Ed Lantz, producer and past chapter chair. Thank you. Leonard Daly, chair of Electronic Services Committee. Thank you so much. Fran, thank you so much for your help. Producer and volunteers chair. And of course, our lovely Joan Collins, producer and co-chair. Next month, on Tuesday, May 12th, we're hosting a special panel featuring experts from the visual effects industry. The event will be moderated by VFX scanning supervisor Tronell Blend, who worked on the Avatar sequels. Please visit our website, lacgraph.org, for a full list of panelists. I am also honored to announce that the Los Angeles ACM SIGGRAPH Professional Chapter is accepting nominations for the next season's Executive Council. Officer positions are Chair, Vice Chair, Secretary, Treasurer, and Membership Chair. Anyone interested in supporting the Los Angeles computer graphics community is welcome to nominate themselves or a colleague. Please visit lacgraph.org for more information. And I want to take a moment to invite you to join our Los Angeles ACM SIGGRAPH chapter. We are passionate about technology, creativity, and the future of computing. And if you align with these ideals, this is the place for you. And thank you all so much for everything. Have a great evening, everybody. Thank you.
Take care. Thanks for showing up.